Hey everybody, Dreamroom64 here, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at this setup over here, my PC gaming setup, a sit-stand desk. I want to show the cable management off in it and talk about some different topics, some of the choices that went into this setup. So yeah, let's get started. And I'll cover other setups in the future, similar videos and all kinds of other videos. All right, so first of all, my computer is on the floor. So that can be a little bit of a controversial decision, but for me, it made the most sense. I have a hard floor down here. It's not carpet. Even if it were carpet, I figure I could have just made a, like a pedestal to rise it up. But I really like this big old computer case. It even has an optical disk drive in it. I don't have any problems with dust down here because it has air filters on it. They work quite well. And believe it or not, I actually don't even have to take them out too often to clean them. But yeah, I don't have any problems with dust. And I don't have like a fancy all-in-one liquid cooler in there. I have a Noctua air cooler. I think it's a really practical solution. So I don't have much to really show off if I were to put it on top of my desk, nor do I have an L-shaped desk. All right, let me just show you one more reason why the computer's on the floor, and that's because I have so much going on back here. I have the dance mats plugged into it, the arcade machine's TV, the arcade machine's speaker system. I have a really long USB cable that's running over Ethernet to a different area of the room, and I have a 65-foot HDMI, optical HDMI cable that can send 4K 120 to the OLED TV on the opposite side of the room. So there's so much going on here. It wouldn't make sense for me to put it on the desk. So I'm a floor PC guy. And then one more thing is that I like having just one computer monitor. I've had 3 in the past. Very recently I had 2. I really find that having one 34-inch OLED is a pretty sweet setup. So you know, I see a lot of people, they'll try to put an extra monitor over here, or maybe they'll stack one up top and then tilt it down. But I don't think I'd really end up using them because Windows 11 window management, how you can shift things left and right with keyboard shortcuts, it's just such an effective way to manage your windows, and the screen is wide enough, unlike a 16:9 monitor, that splitting this way makes a lot of sense. And then something great about this setup here is that when I'm in my chair, I'm actually centered with the screen. I don't have any partitions. I don't have to look up or look to the right. It's just a really comfortable spot to look. I'm equidistant between the 2 speakers. Again, centered with the screen. So give it some thought. If you're working on your setup and you're thinking about a new monitor, I really recommend think about just getting one, because I'm very happy with this. And it is maybe a little bit of a controversial opinion, but to me, it makes a lot of sense. Before I go under the desk, I have a couple more things to show you. So here's my mouse. I kind of have like a bungee setup here. Not quite technically, but it's in effect a mouse bungee. So the mouse cord never snags on anything. I like to use the mouse at a very high sensitivity, so I use a small mouse pad, and I don't need big area of movement. My keyboard here has enough room that I can pull on the cable out about this far, but not so much room that you see the cable drooping down below. And then it's the same deal with the controller here. So this is a Razer, sort of like a mechanical controller. It has these really satisfying buttons. I will eventually get a wireless version of this, but for now this is what I have. Just great controller. But yeah, the controller, it's wired. So I have enough slack. Say I want to play a computer game sitting in my chair with a controller. That's not too often, because usually, I'd play something that's mouse and keyboard sitting at the desk, and I'd play a controller game over on the other setup with the TV and the surround sound. But sometimes I might want to do that. So I did install a controller here, and what's nice is that the cord, you don't see it hanging down unless I were to leave it in the wrong spot. So if I leave it there, okay, well now the cord hangs down, it looks kind of ugly, ruins the look I was going for. If I move it over here, right next to the speaker, the controller puts a little tiny bit of tension on the cord, and you don't see it anymore. So that was my solution to have a wired desk, sit at the controller, or having a wired controller sit at the desk all the time. All right, let me see, one more thing before I dive under the desk. I'm literally going to get on the floor and show you the bottom of the desk, but let me show you one more thing. So I have some bins here. You can see I have white zip ties in this bin, and then I have a bin here with black zip ties. All right, so in the bins, what I like to do is I like to keep these are my cable management pins. I like to keep some of the basic tools that I use in the bin so I don't have to go hunt down the tools that I need, because these are really cheap. There's only 2 tools in here. pliers, like wire cutting pliers that are spring loaded with almost a flush cut edge, and then scissors. So let me explain the wire cutters first. These are just useful for cutting zip ties. And right here in this little tray bin, in this little tray, I keep scrap zip ties, ones that I've cut off, because zip ties, you can reuse them. They're very easy to reuse. If you make a mistake or you want to redo a setup, just cut it off and try to save what you can. You can cut it with these pliers, get a really nice flush, almost flush cut, so you don't have a sharp tab hanging off. All right, now the scissors are for this right here, and it was a 25-foot spool of half-inch thick, half-inch wide Velcro. So I bought the Velcro brand. It costs like 15 or 16 US dollars. You can get it for about half that if you're willing to go off-brand. I don't really know why I bought the Velcro official brand, but I did. But yeah, that's why I keep scissors in here, because you need to cut that with scissors. You can't cut that with the other thing. So keep that in the bin. And then in terms of zip ties, I just buy in bulk. Here's 1,200 small zip ties. You certainly don't need outdoor rated zip ties, but that's what I happen to find a good deal on at the time. So yeah, these are little small 4-inch ones, very helpful for certain things. And then my main zip tie would be 8-inch, just black zip ties here. Nothing special about them. And one nice thing, if you don't know it, you can link zip ties together. So you just hook them together, pull it, and then they'll clip into each other. So you can use these effectively for double the length or triple the length if you need it, just by joining them together. It's just not going to be quite as clean as a single long zip tie, but then you only need to stock one type of zip tie. All right, and then one or two more little things in here. These are called, this is what makes the whole setup work. These are zip tie anchors. So you see this hole here, you run a screw through there. Of course, don't run a screw through it that's going to poke through your material, which is my desk. Can't use one that's too long. But with these, you can grab a zip tie, and then once it's screwed down, you can loop the zip tie through, and now you have a loop. And you can do all kinds of creative things with this. You go through just one side or both sides. You know, they're very flexible, very simple. But you basically just need a wooden surface to screw those down. So say you can't screw them into a surface, there's also adhesive zip tie anchors, but these just don't work as well. They come undone very easily. So I very, very rarely use these. One instance where I did use this adhesive-based anchor is for the mouse bungee-ish solution, because I don't want to drill a hole into the back of my monitor. Sometimes you actually can just drill a hole in plastic and then loop the zip tie through the two holes that you drilled into it. But I didn't have to do that for this setup here. All right, so let me put this stuff away, and we'll get to the next part of the video. All right, so let's go under the desk. All right, so taking a look down here, basically you're just seeing power cords and then all the cables that come out of the computer. Now let's lay down and see the secrets. All right, so down here I have a speaker wire, and I have a hole, 2 holes that I drilled to mount my speakers. Once I get back up, I'll show you the speaker stand, the custom speaker stands I built. They're super simple and cheap, but they're a great solution. Now you can see here's my first instance of one of the anchors. I am using that to stop this cable, speaker wire cable, from drooping down. Same thing here. This is right there is the keyboard cable, and you can see I gently looped it around the excess, and then it plugs into USB 2.0 extension cords. So my solution, since the mouse and keyboard aren't long enough to directly reach into the computer all the way down here, especially when the desk is raised up, my solution was to use USB extension cords. Make sure when you're buying extension cords, or really cords in general, you always buy the shortest length that will work, because the longer the cable, the more problems you run to, especially when you're extending an already pretty long cable. So things can just stop working or be unreliable if you're not careful. Now, another thing I have going on down here, you see this? This is the power supply for the desk itself. So this is a dual motor sit-stand desk, and you can see the cables run here. Nothing's drooping down. Now I'm really fortunate that this particular frame that I'm using for my sit-stand desk, it has a little bit of a gap here. And it's a wide enough gap, and the desk doesn't sag down at all, the desk top, that I can run zip ties through here. So that's what I did here. So you can see I ran 3 through here, and then I ran a couple more here just to tighten things up, secure additional wires, additional cables. So that's what I have going on there. I did a very similar thing right here with this. This is the power supply for my amplifier. So I have made an unusual choice. I'm using passive speakers as opposed to active speakers. So my speakers require a separate amplifier to work. I wouldn't recommend that for most people, but see, I already had the speakers for years, so I wanted to use my existing speakers, and I like the flexibility of being able to upgrade my speakers. So that's why I went this route. But either way, you're going to need to plug your speakers in somehow to get power, and well, that all happens over here. So this is just a basic power strip. Same strategy here. I'm just using zip ties to hold this on. I'm not using any adhesives, no screws, just straight onto this metal bar here. I have the, let's see what's plugged in here. That's the Philips Hue, the monitor, the this right here, the amplifier power cable, and finally the desk itself. So I have a couple open spaces here. It's just a power strip with the cord running down through here. All right, so right here, I've got a sheath around this. So these are the cables, obviously, that have to go to the floor. So that's the DisplayPort cable for the monitor, the USB 2.0 extension cords, and the power supply coming out of here, or power cord coming out of this power strip, and a USB cable for the amplifier, which is also a DAC, digital analog audio converter. All right, so I have this decorative sheath around there. You saw inside I just have Velcro. Makes it easier to undo, but the Velcro doesn't really look good, so that's why I put this around it. Again, just for looks. Not much else to show you down here, so it's just a matter of wrapping up excess cables gently. Don't kink them too hard. You don't want to kink especially digital video cables and anything carrying a digital signal. You can degrade the quality of the cable and then it won't work to spec. You'll run into reliability issues. All right, so I think that's about all I wanted to show down here. Let's get up and I'll show you the speaker stand in a little bit more detail. So the speaker stand, I'm really proud of it. It's a simple design. I searched all over the internet to find a product to buy or copy somebody else's design, and this was what I came up with on my own. I'm sure somebody else has done it, but I couldn't find any instance of this being documented online. So check it out. So you can see the speaker has a very slight tilt. That's so that the tweeter is roughly tilted towards my ear without making the stand too high, and it works pretty good between sitting and standing. So that's why there's a slight tilt there. Now let me disconnect the cables here, the speaker wire. And you can see that the speaker just uses gravity to rest on top here. This is a piece of scrap wood. There's a bolt and a washer there. Just a piece of scrap wood, rounded corners, on top of a PVC pipe, just a basic plumbing pipe from Home Depot that I cut to size. So the bottom's cut flat, and again, the top was cut with a slight angle. And the bolt runs through there. And as you saw earlier, the bolt goes through, and then there's a nut and a washer down there. So it's just 2 washers, PVC pipe, scrap wood, and a bolt, and then speaker wire, which this part was a little tricky. The speaker wire goes kind of diagonally through the wood, past under the washer, and then goes through the tube. So it did take a lot of trial and error to find what angle do I drill this hole at to feed the speaker wire. And I am using overly thick speaker wire. I had 12 gauge speaker wire. I think it's 12 gauge. You don't need speaker wire that thick, but I had it, and it actually looks kind of cool, so that's what I went with. All right, and then I had the little amplifier over here, and I like this amplifier. It has a nice knob to turn. It works as a DAC, as I already said, and it also works as a headphone amp. It has a headphone jack there, so it's pretty good, but they did stop making this exact model. All right, with all that out of the way, let's close out with an explanation of how it all comes together down here at the bottom. So you can see down here at the bottom, the cable coils up, and there's a gentle curve in it. Again, I don't want to overly kink anything. I want to have strain relief. I don't want too much tension on the wires and all that. The cables are delicate. So if I were to raise the desk up, I would just double tap this right here, and then the desk will start to rise. And as it rises, what we'll see is that it's a very gentle action. You know, the bundle of cables in that tube, it's not getting stressed at any point. It has a decent amount of relief up here, and then down here, it's just a gentle curve. I'm actually using white anchors here screwed into the wall, same as the black anchors I showed you earlier, but I just picked white ones here because it matches the color of my baseboards. Again, just one screw. It's super secure and holds everything together. So as the desk moves up and down, there is zero movement at the back of the computer because I don't want these things wiggling around at all. So that's what these anchors are doing. They're keeping this all still, and then there's the gentle curve there, and there's plenty of slack here. Nothing ever goes wrong. It has been very reliable. I've had no problems with that. But again, make sure you keep your cords to the minimum length. Generally, I buy my cables on monoprice.com. They generally have the best value and good quality for what you're getting, for what you're paying. And then one more little cable management thing down here. I have this channel here. It's just for looks, because this little black strip, which some cables run through, it looks a lot better than just having the cables run this length. So just a simple little channel for the cables. And then what I'm kneeling on here, this is a mat that I'd pull out. It's a anti-fatigue mat. So when you're standing at a standing desk, you generally want to take some of the pressure off your feet. All right, well, that's pretty much all I have to say about the sit-stand desk. I will be working on more videos, and thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. Feel free to leave comments. I'm happy to help and answer anything. I love reading the comments. And again, there'll be more content to come, and I have a lot of updates about the retro setup over here. I'm excited to show you some changes I made. So that's a kind of a sneak peek. I don't want to show you too much. All right, everybody. Thanks. Bye.